Welcome to the Upward Running Podcast, where faith fuels your fitness journey.
Welcome back to the Upward Running Podcast. This is your one stop each week to be motivated and inspired to get off the couch and onto the running trail where you can, in turn, inspire others to do the same. Let's learn, laugh, and leap into running together, giving God the glory for what we are able to do in His name. Amen. Well, I am your running host, Dean Thompson, coming to you from a remote location this week. I'm in New Jersey, and Mitchell is way back in Georgia at the studio. So the audio and video for this week may not be as good as we usually provide, but I'll tell you what, the content will still be top notch. Our main story this week is actually from a devotional I ran across a couple of years ago, so I think you'll like that. It's a good reflection on one particular section of Scripture and how it relates to what we do in the sports world and in running in particular. And then I'm going to ask the question, are we too obsessed with being clean? You surely don't want to miss that. And joining me for those stories and much more is Upward Running Director Mitchell Hollis.
So, Dean, my math tells me that this podcast will come out the Monday after Thanksgiving. So I've got a hunch that everybody listening to this is thinking, man, I need to get those few extra pounds off. So maybe we can motivate everybody to get out on the running trail this week.
That's a good idea. Yes. If you ate too much, it's okay. It's just a day or two. Absolutely. Let's just get back in the swing of things. Yeah, it's all good.
So what's the weather like in New Jersey right now?
It's doggone cold up here.
Is it really?
Yes, it was in the low 30s this morning when I got up. So
it's 9:30 in the morning here in Dalton, and I'm betting it's in the 60s here. It's unusually warm here right now.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I've been running every day, of course, and it's been so windy. So not only is it cold, but it's windy, and so. Yeah. But I found a cool place to run yesterday. Oh my goodness, it was a pretty neat place. So yeah, that was cool. The other thing up here, everything is 20 or 30% more expensive up here than it is down there. I see why everybody's grumpy up here. Well, not everybody. It's all good. Well, our post of the week comes from Ashley Daly. This is a great post. She says, "Honesty time. Over the last couple of years, I've really struggled with my overall well-being. I lost fitness, gained weight, and DNS'd more workouts and races than I can count. Most days I felt like running uphill just to get through. I tried everything I could think of to pull myself out of the slump. Training plans, diets, apps, signing up for big goal races, but nothing created real or lasting change. This fall, I finally found something different. Surrendering my challenges to God, getting back into the Word consistently, and genuinely connecting with my local church. Once I started prioritizing those things again, it was like hitting a flat stretch after miles of climbing. Life didn't suddenly become easy, but everything became lighter and more manageable. I feel like I'm in the best place I've been in a long time. Because of that, I'm taking a short break from racing to rebuild a strong training base and clean up my nutrition now that I'm grounded again in my spiritual foundation. I've also shifted my race schedule to focus on one big goal for the winter, the Crown King Scramble 50K. It's almost entirely uphill, 7,000 feet of gain over 31 miles from the Cactus Spines around Lake Pleasant to the Crown King Saloon in the pines of the Bradshaw Mountains. It's a notoriously tough race, but I've logged plenty of hill training these past few years, and I have a God who moves mountains."
Wow. That's a great post.
Oh, isn't it? Man, we all the time, we talk about the base, right? Mm-hmm. Our training base and getting in those base miles that get us into good enough fitness where we can start kind of pounding on our body a little bit. And those are important miles.
Sure.
But this is like the base for the base.
Yeah.
It's the foundation. I guess you get base training, but you got foundation underneath that. And this is the foundation. Getting our relationship right with God first. Because if we get that right, then everything else is just gonna be firmer and it's gonna stand up better and everything will be better. As she points out here, it doesn't mean everything's gonna be easy, but it will make things more tolerable and much easier to handle for sure. Yep.
Yeah, Dean, you know how if you neglect your base in running and then you go out and you try to do a track workout, the track workout just feels horrible, right?
Right.
And so, I haven't always prioritized my quiet time. Even in my Christian walk, I haven't prioritized my quiet time in the past. But in recent history, I have. And I've always tried to put that first thing in the morning, whether I'm sitting here in my desk or I'm down, in my little quiet time area. But the thing I've noticed is once you do it, you realize when you don't do it, whether it be on vacation, sometimes I get out of rhythm when I'm traveling or things like that. And when you miss that quiet time, it's amazing how much you notice it. It's not something tangible that you can really put your finger on. It's just something deep down like I'm missing something here. Kind of like when you go out on that track and you've run, 7 miles in the past 2 weeks. You know something's not right. And so I love this, that she's just putting that back in priority, which makes everything else in your life forced into priority. So it's a great post. So thank you, Ashley, for submitting that.
Yeah, for sure. So if you're out there and you're following one of our training plans, don't forget to also follow the Bible in a year.
Yeah.
If you'll do that Bible in a year every day, I bet it'll make that training plan work a little bit better.
Sure.
Our run of the week comes from Val Bleakley. She says, weather getting colder here across the pond, but blessed and thankful for God's enabling to get out and do another 5K park run. I couldn't help it. Val's a walker. She's not a runner, but she's still the run of the week because, we just love Val. She is an inspiration and a bright spot whenever I see her. And we don't have these park runs around us. I wish we did. I love the concept of the park run. Yeah. And the idea is just to have kind of, I guess you'd call it a no frills race, right? To just a bunch of people getting together because they just want to run a 5K. I think that's great. I've been a part of some of those events over the years, kind of one-offs, but we've never had anything organized like Park Run. That Park Run has gotten so big, though, in Europe, from what I understand, that it's almost like attending a pretty good-sized race. Yeah. When you do it.
Now, the idea behind those is they're kind of no frills, right? They just... Right. It's kind of you show up and everybody, but they're kind of organized. I wonder who organizes those. Is it the parks department, whatever that may be called over there, or is it like a race director that organizes those? Or
I think it's a separate organization. I think there is a park run organization. Yeah, and from what I understand, there are some park runs in the United States. There are just not very many of them. Okay. So you could look it up. I think there's a website you can go to find all the locations, but. Anyway, keep it up, Val. Her and Tom continue to represent the upward running community in Northern Ireland.
Yeah, I've never thought about going to Northern Ireland, but I want to go now. I want to get over there and see, because they've been actually to my house 2 times. And I would love to get over there to see them sometime. We're going to figure out how to make that work.
That would be pretty awesome. Our trivia question from last week. True or false? The average marathon finishing time is more than double the world record. Of course, the short answer to that is true. But I went ahead and I asked Perplexity, the web browser, comment about that. And this is what it said. The average marathon finishing time globally is about 4 hours and 30 minutes, with men typically finishing around 4:21 and women around 4:49. These times reflect a broad data set from a large-scale marathon results. So these are the bigger marathons they're measuring. Average times by gender, again, men 4:20 to 4:23, women 4:48 to 4:49. The combined overall average 4:30 to 4:32. So in general, marathon times have increased since the 1980s as participation has grown, especially among recreational and first-time runners. Only 20 to 30% of runners typically finish under 4 hours, with many completing between 4 and 6 hours. So this, according to Perplexity, the A good marathon time, in quotes, good marathon time, is often cited as sub 350 overall, sub 335 for men, and sub 410 for women. And of course, elite runners will run for the men about 201 to 215 for the big races, and for the women 215 to 225 on average. And they can be, they can vary slightly, obviously, by location and year and weather and all that kind of stuff. But that's a pretty solid benchmark for those marathons. So, I think that in general, the public would probably think marathon times probably have gotten faster over time. It just makes sense. You would think we would get better at it over time. But the truth is what's happened is more people have run marathons. And so I think when Jane sees Sally run a marathon in 5 hours, she's like, well, hey, if Sally can do it, I can do it too. And then she goes out and runs one. And that's just what's happened over time with the marathon. We've just got a lot more people doing it.
I would think that I've never seen a study that backs this up, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think this to be true. I would think the number one goal time for marathons is 4 hours, sub 4 hours.
I'll bet you're right.
Because, it makes sense if you take those average times now. If you look at a stretch goal, if you're running 4 hours and 20 minutes, your logical stretch goal is 4 hours. And it's basically almost on the money 9-minute pace. And so I know that was my first stretch goal for a marathon, was to run sub 4 hours. And I've heard a lot of people say that through the years. So that's a good,
that makes
good
makes a lot of
statistic
sense.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. I know this. One of the good things I don't think we pay attention to about the idea that marathon times have gotten slower because so many more people are in there is for the elite people, the faster people, that's a good thing. And it's a good thing because that means there's more marathons because more people are doing it. And so there's more races to choose from, which makes it better for everybody. So, so that's great for the sport. I just wish recreational runners, the people who are running 5-hour marathons would get into what the professionals are doing more, they would enjoy, sort of like we sit and we watch football. We're going to talk about that a little bit more later, but that's, I wish they would just get into that. Other than that, I like the idea that more people are involved in marathons.
Sure. It's weird to do a break and we just sit here and look at each other.
Yeah, right.
I just texted Val and Tom and I said, just talked about you guys on the podcast. Hope you are doing well.
That's cool.
Yeah. I really would like to get over there.
I would too. Debbie and I have talked about going to Ireland for a long time. So
really?
Yeah. She's, I bought her for, I don't remember I think it was her birthday. I bought her a square foot of land in Ireland.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You told me about that. Excuse me. Yeah, I said I'm going next week. I'm here a week, then I'm going another week. Did I tell you where we're going?
No, where are you going?
To Paris and Rome.
Oh, that's right, with Dean and Alyssa.
Yeah.
That'll be fun. Yeah, I've never been anywhere like that. So
yeah,
I don't know if I have a desire to though. I don't have a yearning desire to.
Well,
sure.
I think Rome is going to be cool.
I think it would be cool.
I've even been reading through Acts, kind of leading up to that to see, like, we're going to go to the stairs where Jesus walked up to be put on trial.
Oh yeah.
Those stairs are still there.
Wow.
And so you can't actually walk up them. You have to crawl up them on your knees. That's kind of they don't allow people to walk up. They say, the last person to walk up those stairs was not the last person. It's just kind of a
thing they do. It's a respect thing.
Yeah. So
that's cool.
That'll be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Did I tell you what I told Dean though? My only request.
What's that?
They asked what we want to do, and I said, they've been there like 7 or 8 times. I'm like, y'all are the tour guides. We'll do whatever y'all say. I said, I only have one request. I said, when we get there, I want to find the Rome or Paris version of Cohutta, Georgia, and I want to go there and have dinner.
Yeah, that's a good idea. like that.
Upward Sports equips churches to run self-sustaining sports ministries in their communities. Whether you're a sports fanatic or on staff at a church, Upward Sports will give you all the tools you need to run a first-class sports ministry that allows you to reach families in your community. Upward Sports offers basketball, soccer, flag football, cheerleading, volleyball, baseball, and softball through league and camp offerings. At Upward Sports, we want to help your church make a difference and give you increased opportunities to share the gospel. Learn more today at upward.org. That's upward.org.
All right, we are back, and don't forget that we're always looking for stories, and we're looking for you to share your story because we want to hear it. And not only do we want to hear it, and we really, really do want to hear it, but there's a bunch of people who listen to this or watch this, and they want to hear it too. Sure. And so we need you to, I know sometimes life gets busy. It's really hard to find time to do that, but we need to hear your story. So submit your story. It's really simple. Go to upwardrunning.com. Go to the thing that says submit your story, or you can just go to upwardrunning.com/submit your story. Really simple. And we walk you right through it. So do that. All right. Now I'm going to try to talk about something that I know nothing about. But
I was wondering when I saw this, Dean, what got you on this topic?
Well, I found this article, and I thought maybe we've got a sizable female audience.
Majority.
So, yeah. And so I thought that it would be good for us to share this, because sometimes, we don't share a whole lot of female specific stuff. This is definitely female specific. So let's try this. This is from Canadian Running. And it talks about sweat-proof makeup for runners. So, and in this case, they asked a synchronized swimmer for makeup products that actually won't budge. So this says, for makeup-loving runners, the thoughts of sweating off your concealer or losing your brows mid-run is likely your worst nightmare. Most of us default to a bare face to avoid mascara streaks, especially on rainy days. Luckily, waterproof makeup has come a long way, but with so many formulas out there, which ones actually stay put through sweat, rain, and potential tears? And so we found out, we talked to someone who knows waterproof makeup better than almost anyone, Sion Ormond, who was a former elite artistic swimmer, which used to be known as synchronized swimming. And she goes through and she talks about all this stuff, and the idea is that there are makeups out there apparently that will stay put. And we've all seen the woman who maybe she's crying or something and everything's running down her face. And obviously from a running standpoint, a lot of women don't wear makeup because of that possibility. So, there is a content creator out there named Brooke Monk who has nearly 43 million TikTok followers. That just blows my mind. She ran the New York City Marathon earlier this month. She ran 3:56. Talk about that, sub 4.
Yeah.
And she was excited about it. But she talks about wearing makeup that doesn't budge. And what she uses is something called Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Setting Spray. That's what seals in her makeup looks. I don't know how that works, but that's just a tip, I guess. And then the Ormond lady, the artistic swimmer, she recommends some of these things. For primer, she recommends, my words won't come out right. Smashbox Photo Finish Primer and Benefit Stay Don't Stray 360-degree eyeshadow primer. So I may be saying some of this stuff completely wrong. I have no idea because I don't know anything about any of this stuff, but for the face, foundation, Makeup Forever HD Skin. That's what and then a lot of this stuff is Makeup Forever stuff. So the concealer is Makeup Forever. The blush here says, Benefit Cosmetics, Bennett Tint, Rose Lip and Cheek Tint. For the lips, again, Makeup Forever or Wet n Wild Mega Last Liquid catsuit matte lipstick. That doesn't even sound good. For the eyes and the brows, again, Makeup Forever, Aqua Resist Brow Filler, or Benefit How-Made Brow Pomade. Eyeshadow, Makeup Forever, Aqua Resist Smoky Shadow. So a lot of this stuff is this Makeup Forever stuff. So I guess that sounds like it's a good brand to use. So for mascara, I can't even know how to say that. Shiseido Imperial Lash Mascara Ink Waterproof. Again, Makeup Forever Aqua Smoky Mascara. L'Oreal Lash Telescopic Waterproof Mascara. Maybelline New York Great Lash Waterproof Mascara. So there's a lot of this stuff out there. Here's the thing that I understand about waterproof makeup is there are some forever chemicals in this makeup. And so if you don't want to use it, I would completely understand it. But if you do, just know that you need to get this stuff off of you need to use it sparingly. Only use it in times where you might need it. And then use some Makeup Forever's Gentle Eye Gel Makeup Remover, which is strong enough to break this stuff loose and won't harm your skin. So, and of course, that's important to understand that you can do that. So again, I don't know anything about this, but if you're listening and you've wondered about if something like this exists, now you know.
So, Dean, I've been asked through the years, Mitchell, 20 years ago, did you see yourself where you're at today with Upward Running and just what you and I have talked about this? Did we ever see ourselves sitting here? And the question is no, but 5 years ago, yeah, we did see ourselves sitting here. Now, if you would have asked me, 10 minutes ago, do you ever think you would talk about makeup on your podcast? I would say no.
And I would have thought the same thing. And I don't know why this one caught my eye, but it did. So there you go.
Yeah, it's kind of like the how uncomfortable we get when in the 5K challenge when we're talking about all the women's apparel. It just gets a little uncomfortable. Why is that? It shouldn't be that uncomfortable. I love to see Mike Buckaloo for Big Peach. It's like he runs through sports bras and everything like it's nothing. But I guess the 7-year-old comes out in me when we start talking about this kind of stuff. Like, I shouldn't be talking about this. But yeah. So good job, Dean.
Yeah. I can't imagine having to worry about all that stuff. I have thank God that I'm male.
Well, you made the comment, wearing this stuff if you need it. And I'm sitting here thinking, do you really need it when you go running? But obviously would get a lot of pushback there. I know. So some ladies think you got to have it, and I get that. So yeah, here's some education you may not have had before.
All right. Well, this week's story is actually some devotion material that's taken from a place called Christians in Sport. I found this a couple of years ago, and I've just kind of had it sitting there, and I thought, well, let's share that this week. So it is called Reflecting on Psalm 116. I love the Lord because he has heard my voice and my supplications, because he has inclined his ear to me. Therefore, I will call upon him as long as I live. The first two verses of Psalm 116 are like a pregame warm-up, preparing both heart and mind for the challenges ahead. Jesus knew these words as he walked into Gethsemane, facing betrayal, fear, and the weight of the world. For athletes, being heard is critical. A coach who listens, a teammate who encourages, or a friend's steady support can make the difference between giving up or pushing through. Psalm 116 reminds us that God is the ultimate listener. He understands our fears, doubts, and struggles intimately, and he responds with care and attention. Like mental rehearsal in sport, repeating these verses prepares the heart to face adversity. Injuries, bad games, or races, or high-pressure moments may come unexpectedly, but God's attention never fails. Just as athletes visualize successful outcomes before a match or a race, we can internalize these words to cultivate inner strength. Knowing God listens builds confidence and resilience, anchoring us in trust even when circumstances feel overwhelming. This spiritual preparation is as essential as physical readiness. Mental focus, emotional stability, and calm heart give us the edge to perform well under pressure. Before a race or a workout, take a few minutes to speak honestly to God about your fears, doubts, or frustrations. Repeat these verses as a mental and spiritual warm-up. Just as athletes rehearse plays or techniques, internalizing God's promises strengthens mental clarity, focus, and resilience. Over time, this practice can deepen your understanding of your secure, eternal identity before Jesus. Wonderfully, this becomes a tool for staying calm during high-stress moments, whether it's in the pain of the race, a last-minute sprint to the finish, or a crucial team decision. As you toe the line today, or next week, or next month, take a second to reflect. You know, I'd like to take this a step further. I think we often say we believe this, that we believe that God listens to us and He responds to us, but then our actions very often show something different. It doesn't necessarily mean we don't believe. That doesn't mean if you don't follow through and do what the Bible tells you to do, you don't believe. But we have to have obedience with that belief. I'll give you a good example from my own life. So I've got this reminder on my phone for me to do a few strength training exercises. I felt this weakness in my left leg now for a while, and so I want to do these strength training exercises. So I have this reminder on my phone every 3 days to do these strength training exercises. And half the time I don't do them, even though I've set myself up as a reminder. So here's my question. If I believe that I need that in order for me to be successful, why am I not doing it? Why am I not? Do I really believe that those things are going to make a difference? Because if I really believe it, I would be doing it, right? And that's kind of the way it is with us, I think, when it comes to the things that God tells us to do. Is it doesn't mean I don't believe these exercises work, but how deeply do I believe it? You know? And so when God says He's going to listen to us when we talk to Him, and we say we believe that, then we should be conversing with Him regularly. And if we're not doing it, then do we really believe it?
Yeah, I'm sitting here looking up a verse right now that just kind of came to mind. I know it's in James. I'm not finding it right now. But it talks about how I'm paraphrasing here, and I don't have the verse in front of me. But basically, it says, if you doubt, you're double-minded in all that you do. And that's not that's not letting us off the hook in any way. That's basically saying if you're sensing that God is calling you to do something and you're doubting it, then you're double-minded. That's a pretty harsh way that James is putting it, is that you're double-minded in all that you do. So it's not just saying in that specific instance, it's saying that's who you are, is you're double-minded, you're doubting, and you don't put your trust where it should be, which is in Christ. Yeah,
that's a great point. Psalms 116, 1 and 2. I love the Lord because He has heard my voice and my supplications, because He has inclined His ear to me. Therefore, I will call upon Him as long as I live. I love the word therefore in this scripture, because it means you're asking yourself, why do I talk with God? Well, it's because I believe He listens to me and He responds to me. In other words, therefore, since I believe that, I will call upon Him. And that should be our first thought. I go to Him because I believe in who He is. And I believe He is who He is because of the way He responds to me. You know, I've been away from home for several days right now. And man, I miss my wife terribly when I'm away from her. And so what do? Well, I call her a lot. I'll call her 4 or 5 times a day because I want to talk to her. I want to talk to her so bad, and I want her to be in the room with me, but I can't have that. The next best thing I can do is I can call her on the phone. And why do I call her? Well, because it makes me feel good to be connected to her. She responds to me when I talk to her, and that makes me feel better. Well, it's the same thing. I know I can count on her to be there and that she's going to make me feel better, and I want to talk to her. That's that's the way we should be with God. We should want to talk to him in the same way that I want to call Debbie 4 or 5 times a day because I want to talk to her.
Yeah, and I think it does. I think it's more than that, Dean. I don't know why this came to my mind, but Holly and I, we walked in somewhere the other day, and I knew there was a bunch of people there, wherever it was. I'm trying to think. Oh, it was a funeral home. Christian's uncle died. And so we walked into the funeral home, and so obviously there's a room full of people. Well, we walked in the front door, so where we walked in was kind of a foyer, and you couldn't see all the people, but you could hear the crowd. And I looked at Holly, I said, I haven't even seen Christian yet, and I can hear her. How did I do that? There was probably 100 or 200 people in the room where Christian was, but as soon as I walked in the door, I could hear her. And it's because I know her. I spend time with her. She's my daughter-in-law. And so when I walk in, I can hear her voice among all the noise. And I don't know why God just laid that on my heart, but it's such a stark reminder that if we spend time with God every day and in his word and talking to him, we're going to have rooms full of people. We're going to have noise. We're going to have people telling us and saying, but if we're spending time with God every morning or every day, we're going to know his voice, even amongst all of the crowd and the distractions.
Yeah. Now, I've been a little emotional the last few days, so I apologize. But that you're so right. That is, gosh, what a great example. 1 Peter 3:12, for the eyes of the Lord are on the righteous, and his ears are open to their prayer. If you've ever been coached by a really good coach, you know what it feels like to just have full confidence in what he or she tells you. You know that when you train, you're going to get results. Why is that? Well, it's because you know that he or she knows what they're doing. And God is really, he's the ultimate coach, and he gives us a training plan. We have the Bible. If we follow it and we do what it tells us to do, he is a coach and he is telling us what to do, and we will be successful. But we'll be successful not necessarily as the world sees it, but as God sees it. And again, back to the verse. Why is that? Well, it's because he's righteous. And to me, it tells me a couple of things. It tells me, number one, I can trust him, of course. But it also says that he can and he will interpret my innermost thoughts. So what that means is it's really hard to fake it. Now, I think there's sometimes we do need to fake it. Sometimes we need to connect with him even when maybe we don't feel like it. But in general, he knows when we're doing that. And you can't fake it with God. You can't say one thing and really feel another way. And so, if you've ever been like extra nice to somebody just because you know you should be, but you really don't feel like it and you're faking it, but they don't know any better. Well, God knows better. Sure. It's a whole different thing with him. He knows. So, and sometimes I think, just like sometimes I'm not always pleasant to be around. Like when I talk with Debbie, she knows my heart. God knows our heart. So sometimes we may not be pleasant to God in our conversation with him, but he knows our heart. And if the underlying heart is in the right place. So,
it's funny you mentioned the coach relationship, because I don't know how many times through the years, I would be talking to an athlete and, they would say getting on to them. We would say coaching them. We're trying to correct them. We're trying to ask them to be their best. And I had athletes through the years say, why are you kind of singling me out? And I'll say, because I know your desire. I know you want this, and I know you're listening. I said, the worst thing that can happen, and I said, always remember this, whatever you do, whether it's your job or whatever, the worst thing that can happen is for me to go silent. And that means, in a lot of cases, that would mean I've kind of given up on you, that I don't think you want it, that I don't think you're up to the task. And so I put my focus somewhere else. And for here, I mean, not that the Lord gives up on us, but it says, for the eyes of the Lord are on the righteous, those who are right, those who are wanting to do right in his eyes. That's where his focus is. And so, I've said so many times through the years that the most comforting thing about my relationship with Christ is his conviction.
Yeah.
That lets me know that his eyes are on me. I'm doing right, and he wants to make me better, even still. So yeah, I think that's a great verse.
Yeah. Yeah. 1 John 5:14. This is the confidence we have before him. If we ask anything according to his will, he hears us. To me, the key words here are according to his will. And we've talked about this before, but I think we often go off the rails here because, I pray for things that I think God wants me to do. And I completely bypass that part about asking him what he wants me to do. We can do a lot of good things and them not be the right things because that's not what God wants us to do. Now there are some things that we do know are the right things to do regardless of the situation, but we're very often headed off in the wrong direction because we're not asking for his will. And you notice he doesn't say if we ask according to his will, he will give us what we want. Mm-hmm. It just says he hears us. Mm-hmm. He might give us exactly what we ask for, but he might not. But in the end, he's doing what's best for us, and we have to have the confidence that we know that. Back when I was working with this, large employer, we got this new manager. I'd always gotten along with every manager I'd ever had for 25 years. And all of a sudden, this guy didn't like me. And he told me why he didn't like me. And it was really a crazy, crazy reason. And it had something to do with running. It was really weird. God didn't answer my prayers to get rid of him. My prayers were kind of like, okay, God, fix this situation. I need you to fix this situation. And in my mind, fixing this situation meant I need him out of here because he's getting in the way for me. But what did he do? He took me out of that situation instead, which is not what I prayed for. It's not what I was thinking. And yet that's what happened. And it turned out to be the best thing ever. And so sometimes God doesn't answer your prayers the way you think he should, but he will answer it in a way that will be best for you.
It's funny you say that because one thing I always pray, and I think people look at me strange sometimes when I say this, but I mean it for the reasons that you just spelled out. But like if I'm at the hospital with somebody who's sick or somebody's on their deathbed, we're all praying, Lord, heal them, make them better. But a lot of times when I pray, that is obviously the first thing I pray because that's my desire for them to be better. But I also follow that up with, Lord, if you choose not to, give us understanding and give us peace, because who am I to say? Because any prayer to the contrary would be me saying, God, you're wrong in this situation. Well, God's never wrong. Our understanding of the situation is often wrong.
Next question. How does knowing God listens change your approach to pressure or setbacks? How does knowing God listens change your approach to pressure or setbacks? What do I've told this story multiple times, but if you're new to this podcast, you may not have heard this story. So, let me tell it again. So I've run every day for the past 14 plus years, every day but one, that is. And of course, this one day, it was a strange thing. I had the flu for a week, but I got out and I did my running that whole week, even when I had the flu. And then it was weird because everything got back to normal by Saturday. And then on Sunday, I was out working in the yard and doing my normal thing. But then in the middle of the night, Sunday night, 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, all of a sudden I wake up. My eyes are wide open and I realized I had forgotten to run on Sunday. I mean, it's crazy. You run every day and you even do it in a time when it's really, really hard. Well, you got the flu and then I miss a day. And so I'm laying there in bed and I'm thinking, God, why would what in the world? How do I fix this? Was my first thought. And of course I went through several scenarios. There's no way to fix it. I just messed up. Right. And so I'm really distraught and I'm really thinking, how dumb can you be? Right. But then at some point in time, I finally after I got over beating myself up, I thought, okay, God, what are you trying to tell me? And very clearly, God told me that I know sometimes you can feel like you're too obsessed with running, but that's what I made you for. I made you to be a runner, and I want you to enjoy running. And it was the most liberating thing maybe that I've ever had happen to me, because I realized in that moment that God really, he's okay with me loving running. He realizes that I love him more, and it's okay. And so this was just one of those things where I went from being really, really, gosh, I can't believe I did what I did, to, oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever. Mm-hmm. God can do that, can just change it just like that.
Yeah, I think for me, the fact that, the question is, how does knowing God listens change your approach to pressure or setbacks? I think the fact that he's listening indicates he's present. And presence for all of us in many situations is really all we need. How many times have you thought about, looking back through your life, if you needed to go talk to somebody, maybe it's having that hard conversation or doing something that you really don't want to do, or something that there's a sense of fear in doing it, all you need is somebody to go with you. And that's the cool thing about God is he is there in all of our situations, listening, yes, but he's also present through his Holy Spirit. And I think if we can make that, so many times we know that, we comprehend that. I don't know if it's a lack of believing that or what it is, but we don't look at that as somebody tangibly there. And God is just as tangibly there as anybody else in our life. You just can't see him. You hear the analogy, is the wind actually there? Yes, because you can feel it. Was Christian actually in the funeral home the other day? Yes, but I couldn't hear her, but I knew she was there because I heard her voice. God is just as real as the wind or Christian in that situation. We just have to, I don't know what the right word is, Dean, because I believe it, but sometimes I don't acknowledge it. I don't know. Why is that I can hear a Christian talking in a room and know she's there every time. I can feel the wind blowing every time, and I know the wind's there. But God's word, the creator of the universe, the creator of Christian and the wind, says, I am with you. I am living and abiding inside of you. But so many times I say, God, where are you? How foolish is that of me to think that? Yeah,
absolutely.
Ask that question.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think about it from a running standpoint, that when we go out and we do a workout, or we go out for a run, we have to believe that is going to do us some good, or we won't do it.
Sure.
And we won't connect with God if we don't really believe that he is who he says he is. Where might you need to start calling out to him more in your life or sport? Patience. I need more patience. I'm better at it than I used to be, but I still need to get better at it. That goes for my running too. This week has been really challenging for me to get in any kind of decent running. I haven't had a good run in several days. And I don't have a lot of patience for that. But it's not worth fretting over. There's nothing I can do about it. I can do the best I can do, and that's all I can do. And so what I need to do is I need to reach out to God and say, God, how do I need to look at that, instead of relying on my brain and how I should be thinking about things. If you're one of our couch to marathon folks, you need to have patience. Because when you think about running that far, it's really easy for you to get down when you think about a 6 mile run that goes off the rails, for example. You start thinking, man, if I can't run 6 miles, how am I going to run another 20? But God wants to help with those kinds of things. And that's where we have to believe that God wants to help us in every situation. When I was coaching, I saw so much how our mindset can change what we do and the success that we have so much. And it's not just we're talking about being connected to God. That's important, but it's also important that we just have a good positive mindset, because I've seen teams that underachieved because they had a bad mindset, and I've seen teams overachieve because they had a great mindset, and it was all in their mind, period. And so it's important to get all that stuff right.
Yeah, I think for me it's trust, trusting in what God is telling you to do. So many times that when you said patience, I think so many times we disguise procrastination as patience. It's kind of the opposite. It's like, oh, we're praying about it. We're praying. I feel like so many times in my life, I'm Moses standing at the Red Sea. And basically what happens in that story in the Bible is Moses gets to the Red Sea and God's telling him to keep walking. And Moses is like, wait, we need to pray about this.
Yeah.
And it's probably one of the only times in the Bible where God basically says, and I'm paraphrasing, stop praying and go. I've already told you what to do. How many times do we do that with our kids, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I've already told you. Have I not commanded you? How many times do you hear that in the Bible? Have I not already said? Have I not commanded you? And in all those instances, it's simply a lack of trust. And we try to put Band-Aids on it called patience and all these other things, or prayer. All those things are good, but they're futile once God has given you a directive. You need to have the patience and obey. Trust and obey. That's an old hymn that just popped into mind. Trust is first, and then do what he says. And it really is that simple.
Yep. Well, we complicate it for sure. How much do you rely on God as it relates to your physical activities? I guess my short answer is not enough. I think it was just last week, and going back to what I was talking about just a few minutes ago, that we talked about how God loves to get involved in the little details of our lives. And I thought about that after we had that podcast. I thought about this. I think it's easy for us to think that God is too big to be involved in my running. He's too important to be involved in my running. But here's the thing. It's because he is so big that he can be involved in our running and our walking. Mm-hmm. So whatever you do, realize that God really does desire to be a part of everything that you do, everything. And I think we miss that very often. So he's so big that he can coordinate my life, Mitchell's life, and all other 8 billion people on this earth. He can coordinate all those at the same time, every tiny little detail. It says he knows the hairs on our head. We need to believe that and rely on that.
Well said. Nothing to add to that.
Do you need something to keep you motivated to keep fit both physically and spiritually? Upward Running has what you need to keep you on track for both. Check out upwardrunning.com and join us for pennies a day. I promise you will not regret it.
Okay, we're back. So here's a strange story, but one that to me is really concerning. And so I'm just going to read the first part of an article that I saw on the Daily Wire. It says, in the summer of 2024, a 47-year-old airline pilot from New Jersey was camping with his wife and children. After eating a beefsteak for dinner, he awoke in the middle of the night with stomach pains, along with other symptoms, including vomiting and diarrhea. In the end, his symptoms cleared up, and he decided against going to a doctor, even though earlier in the summer he had told his wife about the presence of the 12 tick bites he had on his ankles. Whatever those ticks had done, the airline pilot concluded it probably wasn't life-threatening. Then, just 2 weeks later, the man attended a barbecue with his wife where he ate a hamburger, and within 4 hours he was unconscious on the floor of his bathroom. Paramedics tried to revive him, but it was too late. He was dead. Initially, the death was recorded as unexplained, but the man's doctor wasn't happy with that explanation, so he sent his blood work to an allergy specialist who quickly identified the cause. the airline pilot had contracted a tick-borne meat allergy known as alpha-gal syndrome, or AGS, which until this particular case wasn't considered fatal. In fact, you'll find plenty of scientific journal articles referring to AGS as a non-fatal allergy. But this 47-year-old airline pilot, for the first time in recorded history, had proven otherwise. So there's a tick out there called the Lone Star tick. It's mostly in the southeast, but it's all over it goes from maybe east of Colorado all the way over through the East Coast, all the way up into Maine nowadays. So there's hundreds of thousands of cases across the country of these people who have contracted this disease, AGS, that makes them allergic to meat, literally allergic to meat. So when they eat meat, some have really severe symptoms and some have kind of minor symptoms. But this is concerning to me from a running standpoint for a couple of very serious reasons. First of all, a lot of runners really love to run on trails, so they spend a lot of time in the woods. I was just in the woods yesterday running on trails. And if you're that person who's in the trails all the time, that's where these ticks live. And again, it looks like they're native to a good portion of the United States. And so we need to be careful. And I say that to say that if you have any tick activity, if you see ticks, take it very seriously. Don't think it's no big deal. I'm just going to pull this tick off and everything's great. Make sure that it may be worth seeing a doctor, if there's anything at all there to be concerned about. And then number two, man, there have been some really, really disturbing things that have been said about this disease. There are many people who believe that we need to quit eating so much meat, and that we should purposefully infect people with this disease so that they didn't want to eat meat. And that is a terrible, awful thing to do and say. We won't go into the very unethical things that some of these people have said, but I say all that to say this. We talk about nutrition all the time. Our nutrition is really important. If people are trying to convince you that eating meat is bad for you, that is not true. Plain and simple, that is not true. And this comes from a guy who I spent about 2 years eating nothing but plant-based food. And I thought it was good. It was good. I'm not saying a plant-based diet is bad and that we all need to eat meat. I'm not saying that either. I'm saying that there's a lot of ways to skin that cat, and that, you can look at a lot of studies and things like that. None of them, I don't care what the studies say. Here's what I do know. I know that in the Bible, the priests, in the Old Testament, were eating meat. They were ordained. There were certain procedures for them to eat meat. God put those in place. If God put those things in place for people to eat meat, I'm thinking it's okay to eat meat because God said so. So do you think God would have ordained the eating of something that's bad for you? I don't think so. So that's my spiel on that. Maybe that's a little controversial, but that's the way I feel.
No, fast forward to Acts where Peter's on the roof and he has the dream and he sees your sheep coming down and it's got all kinds of meat on it. And God says, arise, go kill and eat. I don't think there's anything wrong with not eating meat. To your point, some people are vegetarian for a plethora of reasons, but I think to demonize those who are not is misplaced, and Scripture clearly backs that up. Yep. So that's all I'm going to say about that.
That's good. Yeah. Well, it's time for Dean's Thoughts, and that's a time when I share something I've written about the intersection between running and faith. So this one may gross some people out, but a little excitement's good, right? This is called Germ Theory and Running. I was listening to a man recently who talked about the use of soap. He says he often does not use soap in the shower. He also doesn't own a bottle of shampoo. In addition, throughout his life, he has spent a lot of time doing fairly dirty things. If you're a normal person today, you just recoiled in disgust. Maybe you're one of those people who shudder while walking out of a porta-john. If you're a longtime racer, you may have had to resign yourself to the use of these nasty contraptions. but you don't have to like it. Okay, so now that you've turned my stomach, what's the point, you ask? Well, think about this. For most of human history, anyone on the planet would have marveled at a porta-john, and a weekly bath, probably without soap in most cases, was a luxury. We really have it good these days. But I think maybe we've gone too far. I'm not talking about taking away showers or indoor plumbing. After all, those things have led to huge breakthroughs in health. There are a couple of landmark studies performed by our military services that proved that washing your hands frequently led to far fewer illnesses. Being clean, it turns out, is a good thing for our health. As our hygiene has improved, so has our health. But have we gone too far? It's a serious question. The aforementioned person who doesn't always use soap when he showers is a very healthy 50-something-year-old man, and there are many people who hypothesize that we are too clean today, and this over-cleanliness has led to immune deficiencies. To be honest, the studies are cloudy, but I bet there's some truth to this theory. We must be exposed to minor germs in order for our bodies to learn to fight off the things that ultimately make us sick. That brings me to my point of the day. I heard someone say, the worst thing that's ever happened to you is the worst thing that ever happened to you. Profound, huh? That seems to like a benign, maybe even a silly statement until you look at it closer. So let's look at it from a runner's perspective. What is your longest run? Let's say it's 10 miles. If so, you probably remember when 3 miles seemed like a long way to run. But today, it's an easy stroll. A marathon, though, that seems out of reach. Until you do it. Then the 10-miler seems easy. When you push yourself hard, it's really difficult to push harder than what you perceive is as hard as you can go. But is it? Chances are you can push a little harder. Eventually, what you perceive as hard today becomes moderate next year. Resistance is good for us. It's where we get better, stronger, and faster. Just like our immune system need to be challenged occasionally to become stronger, our bodies need regular challenges to become strong and healthy. All of these experiences, hand washing, enduring porta-johns, the mental milestone of your longest run, being exposed to difficulties and minor discomforts, point toward a truth found in Scripture. Spiritual health, like physical health, is built by facing challenges and overcoming resistance. Paul writes in Romans 5:3 and 4, not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance character, and character hope. Just as a runner must embrace increasingly difficult distances, and as the body's immune system must encounter minor germs, so believers must encounter trials to grow. To always avoid discomfort, dirt, or difficulty is to stunt our growth, physically and spiritually. Only through hardship is strength, maturity, and true hope forged. So the next time you recoil at the idea of skipping soap or feeling daunted by another mile, remember, growth and health, spiritual, physical, and emotional, are not achieved by avoiding all hardship, but by pressing through it.
That's a great story, Dean. 2 thoughts on that. 3 thoughts. One, we're not doctors. We're not going to claim to be doctors. But, I've heard it said many times that there's so many allergies out there nowadays because our kids don't play in the dirt enough.
Yep.
And 2, to your point about the whole theme of that story, I've always made the comment, you never know how far you can go until you go too far. And that sets your new boundary. So, great reminders here.
Yeah. They did a couple of studies in the military. One was at a Navy training center where they implemented protocols to wash hands frequently throughout the day, and they had a 45% reduction in respiratory illness because of that. And then in another study, they had two battalions in basic training, and they compared one started their hand washing early and the other started it later, and that led to a 50% difference in respiratory illnesses. So we know that being clean, it's a good thing. I'm not saying that being clean is not a good thing. That's not at all what I'm saying. But these same guys that were doing that, they were also out in the field getting dirty. They were in these communal areas close to people, sleeping right near people, using facilities that many other people were using. So they were involved in all of this close quarter stuff. And so that was also helping them. I don't know what's going on today with all the immune dysfunction that we see, because we see a lot of it. It is increasing, it seems like, every year. And I'm sure that it is far more complicated than just being exposed to germs. I'm sure there's many other things that are involved in it. But it really is just like our bodies and our training. You know, we could sit on the couch all day and have someone bring us food to eat and water to drink. What would happen to our bodies? They would waste away to nothing. And that's an extreme example. I get it. But we know that's true.
Sure.
You know, and I have to admit there's a place where we get to the law of diminishing returns. I run 60 miles a week. That may not be good for everybody to run 60 miles a week. Probably at 30 or 40 miles a week, I probably could stay in pretty good shape. There's a sweet spot. I'm not saying we need to get carried away with anything, but me running 60 miles a week is a little bit like somebody who is a clean freak. It's more than I need.
Sure.
And so I don't know. That's my thought on the whole thing. The immune system needs resistance, just like our legs need resistance to become better runners. Our spiritual system needs resistance too. Our faith gets stronger by testing our faith. It's why the people in Nigeria right now, where a lot of Christians are being persecuted and killed, those people out there, their faith is rock solid, because you better have a rock solid faith when you're facing those situations. We don't face those situations in the United States. And so we tend to have a weaker faith because of it. And so we need that resistance in everything, whether it's physical, spiritual, mental, whatever it is. We've got to have some resistance in order to get better, right? And yet there's so many people who think they can stay spiritually fit by going to 1 hour of church a week, and that's gonna, that's like saying, what if I went for one short walk a week and let that be all the fitness I did? Well, it's not going to do you much good. And that's what we expect out of church, and it just doesn't work that way.
I tell my preacher often the best messages are the ones where he stomps my toes, and you just stomp my toes, Dean. Well said.
Yeah, that's what resistance is, right?
Yeah.
Have you always wanted to read through the entire Bible but never found the time to do it? Well, let me do it for you. Sign up for the self-paced Bible in a Year Challenge and start listening today. Every day, I read a few chapters from the Bible and give you helpful tips and encouraging quotes. You must be an Upward Running member for access to this exciting challenge. So if you're not a member, sign up today and get started. If you are a member, what are you waiting for?
Every week I share a reason why running and or walking is so awesome. And this week, we get to know places we never see if we weren't runners or walkers. And so here's my case in point. So yesterday, I ran at this place called the Watchung Reservation. If I hadn't been looking for a place to run, I never would have known about it. I never would have seen it. And it was kind of an interesting place. There was an educational area there that I kind of ran through, and one that I walked through actually after I got through, and lots of trails to run on. And it was really nice. By the way, I never knew New Jersey was as hilly as it is. Even though I was born here, I didn't realize it was this hilly. It's hilly around here. This Watchung Reservation is kind of on the top of a mountain. It's crazy. Anyway, that's not nearly the first time that I have found a cool place that I didn't know existed, and I only found it because I was a runner. So I think we just actually see more of the world as runners and walkers than non-runners and walkers.
For sure.
Yeah. So the NCAA championships are this weekend. They'll be done by the time this comes out. The race, the NCAA cross country race, is always has great surprises. It's always fun to watch. Here's my question, and I alluded to this earlier. NCAA sports are huge. You got the football national championship. It's the biggest thing people talk about a lot of times. March Madness. I mean, people are all over that. The College World Series is big. If you live in the North, even the Frozen Four for hockey is big. So why are the NCAA cross country championships not bigger? I mean, they're always really exciting. And I know that every 4 years, people love to watch running every 4 years when they watch the Olympics. So why don't people love to watch I think about this all the time. When I watch a running event on television, usually online because it's not on television too often, it's always, it's not as good a production as a football game is. So in a football game, you got all these graphics and things that makes the production better. They could make races so exciting. Picture this. NCAA cross country championships. You have, real time, because of GPS, you can do this, real time scoring. You're watching, the University of Northern Arizona catch up to the University of Oregon as it happens in real time. I mean, that could be really exciting if they would do it, but they don't do it because it's not popular enough. So why is that? Why don't you think it's popular enough?
I don't know. As you were saying that, I was just thinking about, I was trying to think about some of the most popular sports are where basically it's confined. So football, you have a stadium. Basketball, you have a stadium. Baseball, you have a stadium. Even NASCAR, you've got a track right there. And the logistics of broadcasting that in an exciting fashion are somewhat easy. Everything's contained, but I think with cross country, running, triathlon, all these sports, it's so spread out, but I think maybe that can start to change. Nowadays drones are even the Tour de France, they have motorcycles who are out with the riders, but you really can't have a motorcycle out on the court on a cross country course.
Yeah.
But there's so much technology nowadays. I'm thinking of drones. What if they had a series of drones flying right over these guys all on the course? That would be much more engaging to watch. And we're runners, and that would definitely take it from, that's okay, till you get to the finish line. But it's because the finish line's where all the cameras are, right?
Yeah.
But how cool would it be if they implemented the use of drones and tried to, and plus, football's where the money is, so that's where these great videographers, that's where they're drawn to. But I think if you took that talent and resources and technology and put it on a cross country course, I would think you could make it every bit as engaging. They've just never done it. And they've never had a way to do it, really.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. I don't have as much of a problem with the video portion of what they show usually. The video portion is usually okay. Sometimes they cut to something while something else is happening, and that's a little frustrating, but the actual video is usually okay. It's the technology that they could use with it. But yeah, the drones would be a great idea. You could get up close and personal on some stuff with one of those for sure.
I would think, I shouldn't say this because I haven't thought this through, but to me, the camera on the football field that's on the 4 strings, it basically goes right down into the huddle. That made football so much more engaging.
Yep.
Because you feel like you're in the game at that point.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same thing. It really is, at least in football, from a wide angle view, they're hitting each other and it is somewhat, but with running, from just pan back, it really is pretty boring. But if you could get that camera in there in the action, because we know how exciting a cross country race really is. We know that. But the outside watching world who doesn't know anything about it, they don't know that because they've never been right there in the action.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Think about it. They've made cornhole.
Yeah.
that has become a thing on TV. And it's because they've brought that same technology, talent, everything to that sport, and they've made it engaging.
Yeah. Good stuff. Well, one of the favorites for the women's title of the NCAA Cross Country Championships is a lady by the name of Jane Hedengren. We've talked about her before. She would be the first freshman since the mid-1980s to win if she can win. Now, I don't know whether she will or she won't, but she's definitely one of the favorites. But somebody noticed something about her, and I thought this was really interesting. She's 5 feet 11 inches tall. So she is very tall for a female runner, distance runner especially. So this posed the question, will her height hold her back at some point? And I thought that's a fair question. There's a number of successful 5'8", 5'9" women, but you just don't see women that are that tall, doing really well. And so you got to wonder. So here's my question. What do you think about that? Do you think that will hold her back or not?
This is completely off the cuff.
I had one thing that came to mind just like that when I thought about this, and I wondered if it would come to your mind.
Well, I think with obviously a longer lever gives you an advantage. And by lever, I mean your legs in this case. For a runner, their lever is their legs. The longer that is, the more advantage you have, so long as you have the power to move that lever. And I think just by God's design, men have more muscle mass than ladies, and so therefore they are able to capitalize on that longer lever than women. Women have less muscle mass, so a smaller lever actually works to their benefit by and large. I don't know if there's any truth to what I just said, but that's what came to the top of my mind.
Yeah, that's interesting. My thought was, look at Usain Bolt. Before Usain Bolt came out, if somebody would have said, can a 6'5" sprinter dominate the world? Everybody would have answered, no way. Impossible. Can't happen, for all the reasons you just mentioned. But he did. And he's the world record holder still to this day. And he was a lot like Jane. He was way outsized. Now, he was a sprinter. That is different than a distance runner. But I feel like maybe Usain Bolt has proven that you can do things. You don't have to be a cookie cutter to be really successful at it.
Okay, I've got another theory that just made me think of. Maybe this is where you were going. So to be one of the world's best runners, you're an incredibly talented, gifted athlete from a genetic standpoint. I think most talented, gifted, genetically gifted females who are 5'11", they're going into another sport.
I think you're right. I think
that may be what's happening. Volleyball, basketball, you name it. There's so many other sports where that height, where a 5'11" female, chances are it's going to take you a lot further with those kind of genetics.
That is so true. I totally agree with that. Well, here's what I think. I'm going to make a prediction, okay? I think Jane is a once in several generation talent. I think she is that good. I think she has adapted remarkably well to Diljit Taylor is her coach now at BYU. I think she's really adopted very quickly and very well to her training. I think there's a chance that at some point in time she runs under 14 minutes for 5K in the next 5 years. Now, that's a bold prediction. The American record is 14:19. I feel almost certain that she will break the current American record. And so we'll see. That's my prediction. I think Jane is that good. And we're going to find out this weekend in the NCAA championships. You may already know who won the NCAA championships when this comes out, and you may be thinking, Dean missed that one by a mile. So we'll see. I'm throwing myself out there on the limb.
Yeah.
Which brings me to the trivia question for this week. I don't know the answer to this question right now, but we will when this comes out. So, who won either the men's or the women's NCAA cross country title last week? And if you know the answer to that, you can send it to dean@upward.org. And if you are a member of Upward Running, you will win $20 off in the store. So, check it out. See who won, the men's or the women's. Either one. I'll take either one. If you want to send me both, that's great too. And I'll tell you what, I'll take the team or the individual. So our motivational thought of the week, it comes from Billy Mills. He was the U.S. Olympic gold medalist in the 10,000 meters in 1964. He said, the ultimate is not to win, but to reach within the depths of your capabilities and to compete against yourself to the greatest extent possible. When you do that, you have dignity. You have pride. You can walk you can walk with character and pride no matter in what place you happen to finish. It's all about being the best you can be, not anybody else. So that comes from Billy Mills, the only gold medalist in the 10,000 meters in U.S. history.
Wow.
It's pretty impressive. And the other thing that he's famous for is the most famous call to me the best call of all time. Look at Mills! Look at Mills!
It rises to the Larry Munson of Georgia football. Some of his calls. Yeah.
Yeah. It's all good. All right. Well, if you haven't joined Upward Running, you should be doing that. If you haven't already subscribed to listen to this podcast every single week, you should be doing that. You should be doing reviews and things and making sure that the algorithm finds us and boosts us out there so people can hear more. Because the more people that hear what we're doing here, the more people that can come to Jesus Christ. And that is our ultimate goal.
Yeah.
So until next week, may God bless every step of every run and or walk. Go out there and shine your light.
Good job, Dean.
For more information about Upward Running, visit upwardrunning.com. If you have questions about your salvation, click on the Peace with God tab. There is nothing more important. Thanks for joining us today.